attempt here in the women's 100 meters heat 5, and they are away.
Equals 7th fastest of all time. The last time we saw her this year, she was in Australia winning the Stawell Gift. But this is her official 100-meter season opener.
Was that your motivation going into today? I know you said that you were facing off with some injuries earlier in the season.
April 6th, 2026. Stawell, Victoria, Australia. A small town that most people would struggle to find on a map. A grass track with a slight uphill slope. And one woman standing 9m behind every other runner before the starting gun is even fired. The starter pulls the trigger, the crowd leans in, and Sha'Carri Richardson accomplishes something no American woman has achieved in the 148-year history of this race. She wins from scratch in 13.55 seconds, the fastest time ever recorded by a woman at the Stawell Gift. But if you think her story starts in Australia, it doesn't. It begins in Dallas, Texas, with one question that stayed in the mind of a little girl for years. Why didn't my mother want me? Sha'Carri Richardson was born on March 25, 2000. Her biological mother was never part of her life. There was no goodbye, no explanation, only an empty space that never disappeared. She was raised by her grandmother, Betty Harp, and her aunt, Sha'Nia Richardson. Two women who chose to love and raise her when the person who should have done it didn't. But pain like that doesn't simply disappear because someone else steps in. For years, Sha'Carri carried that hurt everywhere she went. She constantly wondered what was wrong with her and why she wasn't enough. Those thoughts followed her into the classroom, into her bedroom, and into every quiet moment she spent alone. By the time she reached her junior year of high school, the weight became so overwhelming that she questioned whether she wanted to keep living. It was her Aunt Sha who helped pull her back. Not through a speech or a special program, but through steady support, daily presence, and unconditional love. Sha'Carri has openly said that her aunt saved her life, and what helped carry her the rest of the way forward was her speed. She began racing boys around her neighborhood in Dallas. It didn't take long before she was beating them. By 2016, at only 16 years old, she was competing at the AAU Junior Olympics, winning the 100m in 11.5 seconds. By her senior year at David W. Carter High School, she had captured back-to-back UIL 4A state titles in the 100m, added a state championship in the 200m, and posted times of 11.28 and 23.02. She wasn't just the fastest girl in Texas anymore. She had become something much bigger. Bright orange hair, long nails, and a personality that made every sprint feel like a performance. She never changed herself to fit the sport. Instead, she made the sport adjust to her. In 2018, she enrolled at Louisiana State University. She stayed for only one season. At the 2019 NCAA Outdoor Championships in Austin, Texas, Sha'Carri Richardson ran the 100m in 10.75 seconds. That one performance set a new collegiate record, a new world under 20 record, and placed her 9th on the all-time women's list at just 19 years old. Later that same day, she ran 22.17 in the 200m, setting another world under 20 record. 2 world records in a single session. She won the Bowerman Award, signed with Nike, and immediately turned professional. The sport had found its next superstar. Then came 2021, and she was already reaching another level. In April, at the Miramar Invitational in Florida, she ran 10.72 seconds, making her the 6th fastest woman in history at that time. Then came the U.S. Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon. She ran 10.84 in the heats, 10.64 in the semifinals, and 10.86 in the final. She earned her place in Tokyo as the crowd was already celebrating before the race had even finished. After crossing the line, she didn't slow down. She ran straight into the stands, found Betty Harp, and embraced her. What nobody watching knew was that only days earlier, Sha'Carri had learned through a reporter, not from a family member, not through a caring phone call, but from a reporter, that her biological mother had died. She discovered that the woman who had never chosen her was now gone forever. And then she stepped onto the track and ran the biggest race of her young career. Then July 1st arrived. The phone call came. She had tested positive for THC, the active compound found in marijuana. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency handed her a 1-month suspension, backdated to June 28th. Her qualifying performance was erased. Tokyo was no longer part of her future. She didn't hide behind a public statement written by someone else. She faced the cameras herself and spoke honestly. She explained that she had used marijuana while in Oregon, where it was legal, as a way of coping with the loss of her mother. Nike released a public statement giving her its full support. Athletes, fans, and politicians all came forward, arguing that the rule was outdated and no longer reflected reality. But none of that changed what happened. The Olympics went on without her. She watched from somewhere else. When she returned in August 2021 at the Prefontaine Classic, she crossed the line last in 11.14 seconds. Then came the 2022 USATF Outdoor Championships, where she failed to reach the final in both the 100m and the 200m. No place on the World Championships team. No national title. The same people who had spent the previous 2 years calling her the future of American sprinting were now saying her opportunity had already passed. Sha'Carri didn't respond with words. She went back to work alongside coach Dennis Mitchell. She rebuilt every part of her game. Her mechanics, her mindset, and the way she approached every race from start to finish. Through it all, Betty Harp stayed by her side. Then came 2023, and it became her answer to every doubt. At the World Athletics Championships in Budapest, she was drawn into Lane 9, the widest lane on the track and the farthest away from the rest of the field. Throughout the recorded history of the World Championships, no man or woman had ever qualified from a semi-final on time and then gone on to win the 100-meter final. Sha'Carri Richardson changed that. She crossed the finish line in 10.65 seconds, setting a championship record. 4 years filled with public disappointment, last-place finishes, and growing criticism disappeared in one unforgettable sprint down the straight. Later that same week, she added relay gold. Once again, she was the fastest woman in the world. Then came Paris 2024. She earned her first Olympic appearance by winning the U.S. trials in 10.71 seconds, the fastest women's time recorded anywhere in the world that year. In the Olympic 100-meter final, she ran 10.72 and finished second behind Julian Alfred of St. Lucia. A silver medal. A few days later, she received the baton for the anchor leg of the 4x100 relay with Team USA sitting in 4th place. Down the back straight, she powered past 2 countries. Team USA crossed the finish line first. She claimed Olympic gold, turned toward the field, and gave the same look that had become her trademark, completely unbothered, completely confident. Then came Stawell. Easter Monday, 2026. She began the race 9m behind the rest of the field on a grass track in regional Victoria, with thousands of spectators watching a race that has been part of the community for nearly a century and a half. She almost lost her semi-final by the smallest of margins, then immediately accepted responsibility on camera without making excuses. In the final, she chased down the entire field over the last 30m and crossed the finish line in 13.55 seconds. The fastest time ever recorded by a woman at the Stawell Gift. Only 3 women have managed to win this race from scratch in the last 37 years. Melissa Breen in 2012, Brianna Behan in 2025, and Sha'Carri Richardson in 2026. She is the only non-Australian on that list, the only world champion among them, and the fastest of the 3 by nearly 0.4 of a second. A girl from Dallas who grew up without her mother, who battled back from suspension, public embarrassment, and last-place finishes in front of packed crowds, is now adding her name to a record book that is older than the modern Olympic Games. Betty Harp raised her. Sha'Nia Richardson saved her. Sha'Carri Richardson did everything else. Now, let's shift to another remarkable story. April 12, 2026. Sydney Olympic Park Athletic Centre. An 18-year-old from Ipswich, Queensland settles into the starting blocks for the 200m. When he crosses the finish line, the crowd falls silent. Not because the race wasn't impressive, but because it takes a moment for people to process something they never expected to see. Gout runs 19.67 seconds. That one performance makes him the 16th fastest human in history over 200m. It breaks the world under 20 record. It would have earned a bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympics. And it was accomplished by a teenager whose body is still developing. So,